Are the Chicago Bears interested in Ashton Jeanty, the guy unanimously viewed as the top running back in this year's special class of runners? Okay, guys, we have one more rumor to talk about here, and something I do think fans should pay attention to. Ashton Jeanty, who to me is the most electrifying player in the entire nation this year, while carrying his team to the college football playoffs, is a special prospect. But conventional wisdom and most people will tell you they don't want to draft a running back in the first round. But if you think about it, some of those same people envy what the Detroit Lions have, and they very recently selected a running back in round one, Jahmyr Gibbs, with the number 12 overall selection in the first. Ashton Jeanty is similar to Gibbs in a lot of ways, as far as talent, playmaking, and even size. But Jeanty, who is the same size as Gibbs, comes in at 215, or 15 pounds heavier than the Lions runner. But it's not just the talent is the reason why I wanted to talk about it. A recent mock draft that was shared on social media had the Bears taking Ashton Jeanty, and it was liked by none other than Ashton Jeanty himself, immediately causing fans to connect him to the Chicago Bears. But on top of that, this comes shortly after Caleb Williams and Ashton Jeanty were seen together hanging out over the offseason. So that's why I made this video. His name is already out there. People are already talking about Ashton Jeanty. They're already connecting him to the Bears. So I might as well address it. Look, normally I'd be against taking a running back in the first round, and we need more help in the trenches than we do a running back. We already have DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson, but to play devil's advocate here, Ashton Jeanty might also be my favorite player in the entire draft, and a guy who very well could be the best player on the board when the Bears pick at number 10 overall. So I do have to consider it. We're still a long way away from the draft, and maybe Ryan Poles surprises us and finds a way to address the offensive line via free agency. If something like that happened, that would potentially open the door for Poles to draft a player like Jeanty. I still think defensive line would be a bigger need, but it is something we could maybe address on day two. If we paired Ashton Jeanty with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore, and they could fix this offensive line, in this scenario, just imagine they signed Trey Smith and Drew Dahlman in free agency. Purely hypothetical here, but if we could do that and land Ashton Jeanty, we'd have a top 5 offense in the NFL and one of the most dangerous in the league. Here is a recent mock draft I did where I was able to land Ashton Jeanty at pick number 10, and then I went to nothing but the trenches. In the second round, I would add my guy Gray Zabel, who could come in and play center or guard, immediately helping out this offensive line, and I would stick in the trenches still, and then address the defensive line with the second pick in round 2, adding edge rusher Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. I love this guy, and then coming back in the third round, if I could somehow land Deion Walker from Kentucky, this would be an incredible draft where we're still able to really improve the trenches, but somehow land Ashton Jeanty. Look, this is way too early for real mock draft scenarios. This week's Senior Bowl practices are really moving the boards around a lot. But this rumor is floating around out there, and I've actually seen Bears media guys saying that Jeanty to the Bears would be the worst decision in Bears history. And that gave me pause. Let me be clear here. That's just stupid. We've drafted so many bad players in my life. Ashton Jeanty is simply one of the most talented prospects I've ever studied. Even if the value wasn't there, calling it a stupid decision just doesn't make sense. And that's coming from me, a guy who wants to address the trenches. I believe we almost have to take offensive line or D-line in the first round. But if you ended up taking Ashton Jeanty, it's not the end of the world. This is a guy who is extremely talented. But for me, I'd rather draft trenches and then draft a running back with our third or fourth pick. Try to land a guy like Caleb Johnson, Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, or you can get Devin Neal later. But I did want to be clear here. Ashton Jeanty to the Bears would not be a stupid decision. It would just mean Ryan Poles has to address the trenches in other ways, get creative, and get it done. Because there are no excuses for not fixing the offensive line this offseason. And that's my biggest take here. If something like this were to happen, Ryan Poles would have to address the trenches in other ways, but Ashton Jeanty is extremely talented. Let me know what you guys think. I just wanted to talk about this briefly today, get it out of the way so I can focus on my Senior Bowl scouting and turn my attention towards the draft and free agency. Let me know how you guys are feeling. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned because I have a ton more content on the way. And until next time, bear down.